Name's Darvin Bentledge, farm 1,160 acres in both the Golden City Township and Richland Township. Family's been here for 60 plus years in the same area. I live on one edge of the farm. My father lives right in the center of the farm. Located from where we farm within a 5-mile radius, you can count at least 10 CAFOs. I circle my farm checking my cattle each day. I see 4 CAFOs before 7:30 in the morning on a 4 or 5 mile radius from where we drive. I can see a CAFO from every spot on our farm. Some places I can see 3 from one spot. These guys have found a way to get under any kind of regulation, which is a Class 2. Class 2 has no setbacks. That means they can put 2,500 sows right at your property line, right next to your house. Or 30,000 chickens. Or 55,000 turkeys. Right up to your back door. There's nothing you can do about it. And where that manure sits there for months on a time, it gets pretty nasty. And then whenever they start spreading it, they spread it through a traveling gun, which makes a mist of manure. If you're close enough to them, the wind's in the right direction. If you've got a white picnic table or something out there, you can see the little green specks.
Elmo Britton's my name, and I lived in the southeast corner of Sullivan County. And I born and raised right there. And the farm that we sold in '06, we'd owned for 50 years, me and my wife, family. And we had lost a lot of our neighbors. We've got a hog confinement there, PSF, hog confinement, that's just a mile west of our farm. They got 54,000 head there. And the neighbors all around that site there is pretty well gone. They couldn't put up with it, and they just moved out. PSF did buy some of their land, and some of them sold it otherwise, but they had a lot of empty houses up there, and some that PSF owned, they just tore down and burned. So it's pretty heartbreaking up in there, because I was born and raised right there where this site's at, the 54,000. My folks owned that farm there, and we had to sell it in the early '80s, and we sold it to a farmer out of Iowa, but he ended up selling it to the Premium Standard Farm because he couldn't make it. So it's terrible. My wife and me, we decided we're the only ones at home anymore. The kids are all grown and left, and married, and we didn't want. We're up in the 70s, and we didn't want to spend the rest of our days smelling this hog situation. And they spread within a half a quarter of our house that we lived in. And they were real considerate. They sent us a letter and said that if we was going to have a barbecue or something, a family gathering, to let them know and they wouldn't spread that day. So we never did bother them, but we just put up with it.
I'm Ronald Martin. This is my wife Roberta. We live at Rural Route 2, Box 11, Downing, Missouri, a mile north of Downing and a little bit east. Moved in here in 1944. My parents moved here, and I was 10 years old when I came here. Went to school at Downing, and all my life here, except for 3 years in the service. We have had to come in and out of the yard of an evening because of odor here, and actually we're 3/4 mile away from the hog house, but the odor still gets up here and just runs you out of your yard. If you've never had this odor in your yard, it's very hard to explain, and it's very, very burns your nose and very strong. It just actually, it's not blown by the wind, it's the real quiet times is when we get the odor. It just kind of moves in like a cloud of fog. I was raised, we used to have what they call a golden rule. You don't do to others as you would have them do to you. But yet, they build this hog house closer to my house than to their house.
We put our farm up for sale, and we sold it in April of '06. It had been in the realtor's hand for 3 or 4 months or something like that. And so that's what our situation is, and my wife, she can't stand that at all. She's got a kind of a breathing problem anyway, and it bothered her real bad. She would get to coughing and even throw up at different times of the day. And she more or less got to where she stayed in the house most of the time. Of course, we didn't have central air in that house. And that was, I think, probably would have been a little better if we would have had central air, but we didn't.